team that is up in flux, you want that #1 seed. It suddenly
means a lot.
Yeah, you have a much easier path to the finals, and like you said, that's where everyone wants to go.
Exactly. Let's see how these teams decide to play it here in game #1 of the day. OpTic Academy in the blue, C9 Academy hanging out over there in the red. It's Rise and Zach banned out first by OpTic. Cloud9 responding with the perma-banned at this point Skarner, as well as the Azir.
And I want to see what they do about that Xayah Rakan. We've seen teams try and split it up by letting the Xayah get first pick, then taking the Rakan. Seems a little dicey because Rakan's not a great laner on his own, so you need to pick something with some all-in synergy to make sure he's able to use his whole kit effectively. And that seems like it doesn't usually work out that well, so you see a lot of people banning it here on red side. C9, the better team, generally speaking, you would think then that they would be willing to leave it up and take just a counter matchup into it.
We'll see how they decide to play that one out. Kha'Zix will be the final ban on the side of OpTic Academy. They want to keep that one out of the hands of Wiggly, and Camille will be the answer here from C9A. And OpTic decides, you know what? Xayah and Rakan, that's not really our priority here. Going for Sejuani.
Well, see, that bites them. The Camille ban, like we were talking about, how Pancake Lord mostly known for his carry picks. Camille still generally considered the best carry top laner in the league, so that one gets thrown away. Pancake Lord, if you want to play carries, you're going to have to do it on something that's not quite S tier.
And I mean, that's an important thing to focus on. You can't always just go for the meta. Sometimes you've also got to be thinking about what someone's going to favor as well, right? It's a kind of that line you've got to walk in terms of, do you just go pure meta? Do you go for something else otherwise? Cloud9, they're deciding that they want to go ahead, go for the Xayah, so they break up the combo. At the same time, they put some priority on that Galio.
It's an interesting phase because you can take Xayah Rakan there and then you have the combo yourself, but now by only taking half of it, you're saying, well, we're going to take that other half with our last pick of this rotation.
We dare you to stop.
Yeah, we dare you to stop us, because Xayah Galio Rakan is one of those kind of, oh my god, you might
How did you get this?
Yeah, you might get face rolled in a second here. Tons of dives will be coming down to the bot lane, so OpTic kind of know that's coming, but are you willing to potentially hamper your bot lane to make that work? Looks like with that Caitlyn pick, they're probably going in a different direction.
Right, I mean, you already said, if you're going to draft the Rakan, we like to see some extra ability to go all in with that. Caitlyn, not the first champion that comes to mind when you're thinking about playing aggressively and all in there in the bottom lane. So instead, it's Caitlyn and Sion locked in. So let's see if C9A want to go ahead and grab themselves that Rakan.
The first rotation Sion potentially going mid lane. We've seen it. Golden Glue did it himself.
All right, it is the Rakan answer hover for now. All right, locking that one in. So you got the bottom lane for Cloud9, you got the mid lane for Cloud9, jungle, solo lane potential, and AD carry locked in for OpTic.
Right, and so if you're C9, what you're thinking here is you might want to ban supports out, because the Caitlyn taken early on, they're going to look for a pushing lane. You can avoid the dives if you have pressure the whole time and that they can't just dive you under your turret. You might still get engaged on, but hey, at least you're not pinned up against your turret. So
that's true.
Maybe you'll see some of those bans. It looks like instead they're banning out some mid laners, maybe trying to force that Sion top side by saying like, hey, we're going to focus this down. You're going to go top, please. Don't take it mid, but we'll have to see.
We'll see how it plays out. We do have the Cassiopeia banned away. Shen's going to be the response there from OpTic, targeting towards what Shiro might be able to play there in the top lane, going up against Pancake Lord. And I kind of like looking towards that top lane there from OpTic, because they're trying to make Pancake Lord's debut a little bit easier here. Maybe you don't want him playing against the Shen. Maybe that might be a little bit outside of his wheelhouse of what he wants to be doing. So make the road a little bit smoother.
Yeah, we saw Impact destroy Someday with Shen into Sion, so maybe that's just generally considered a bigger counter pick than a lot of us had considered. Also with the the Cho'Gath ban, they are trying to find him a good matchup in the top side, most likely. Maybe they're trying to give him Sion, generally considered the stablest pick up there in the top lane right now.
Right.
Make sure that your rookie debut is on a champion that you cannot go 0-10 on too easily.
Exactly. Gotta give him the tools to succeed. So with Morgana banned away from Cloud9 Academy, it's Olaf locked in for C9. Are we gonna see the Peanut performance, Mark?
Maybe. I mean, this is a dive comp.
This
through and through. This is an early game, blow you out of the water, shooting fish in a barrel with a shotgun, like the most over the top.
Shotgun loaded with dynamite.
Yeah.
This is absolutely ridiculous. For those of y'all who might not have tuned into LCK the other night when SKT went up against Kingzone, this is actually the composition that was being run by Kingzone. Olaf jungle, Galio mid. Peanut had something like 11 kills at 15 minutes or something completely absurd, just running around the map on Olaf, dismantled everybody, made SKT look like they needed to go back to the practice room. absolutely insane performance. So the fact that they're able to get that on Cloud9 here, along with Xayah and Rakan in bottom lane, that's a hell of a draft.
Yeah, that's a good draft. And with Braum getting locked in, it is still probably a Kate Braum favored matchup, but it's not this dominant pushing lane after that Morgana got banned out. With Victor in the mid lane, not having push priority against Galio until a couple items a little bit later on, there's a potential for a lot of pushing lanes for C9 here, which means that they will buy a lot of space for this Olaf to go in for these crazy invades. We saw it also in SKT versus KT, I believe, a game where they had a lot of lanes that couldn't push against an Olaf, and the Olaf just had the time of his life running wild in their jungle.
Plus, there's no tracker's knife anymore. Maybe Olaf gets up in your face. You don't even know he's waiting there. Another thing that we saw in the SKT game, Blossom's jungle was pretty much just Peanut's second home, so we'll see how well OpTic Academy and Kadir are able to adapt to that. The final pick on the side of Cloud9 Academy. Why not do it with style? Riven locked in for Shiro.
Gotta say, I'm not exactly sure how Sion Riven goes. I mean, I assume Shiro's confident. It's the same thing. We saw this dude pick Akali into Camille. Camille. He's willing to do weird stuff.
I like it, though.
And I would believe Sion's kind of probably hard to play into. Riven, she's hopping around all over the place. You're trying to shout minions that are not really connecting on those.
Right, you have some really telegraphed abilities on Sion. You have the long-range minion slamming thing, and then you have your here comes my axe, you better not stand in it Q. And right. Riven's got a lot of ways to make sure that she is not going to be standing in it as we work our way into game number 1 here. It's definitely a cool one to start the games off the day off with, because of the fact that we've got, like we already said, the combo that we saw from Kingzone. We've got the Xayah Rakan, we've got Riven in the top lane, and they're going up against Piecake Lord's debut. You've also got plenty of damage potential on the side of OpTic. I mean, we've been talking about this comp from C9, but you've got Victor, you've got Caitlyn, you've got wave clear and damage, and there's potential here.
Absolutely. OpTic's team comp, while less sexy than C9's, is a very strong standard team comp. You got 3 tanks, 2 high damage late game carries. Caitlyn does have a strong early game to try and transition you there, and they're going to be mostly on the back foot of this early game, trying to limit what should be a very aggressive C9 game plan here. And if you reach 2-3 items, you generally start getting outscaled. I mean, if you play Riven really well, you can delete backlines at any point in the game. It just starts getting really hard to find those angles against the Sejuani, Braum, and Sion.
Well, that means eyes will most likely be on the Cloud9 Academy players here in the early game to see if they can get that snowball rolling. You don't pick Olaf to play a patient, long, safe game of League of Legends. You've got to get in your opponent's face. Use those early power spikes. The fact that you can spam those axes so frequently in the jungle early on means that Kadir will have no chance in that 1 versus 1.
No chance, as well as the fact that he has a lot better gank setup. Though there is a blue buff invade going on.
All right, I guess that's one way that you might be able to shut the Olaf down a little bit early, try to steal something away from him there, but they will not successfully do so. And I like what Wiggly's doing here. You guys see Wiggly aggroing the Gromp before the blue is even done, which causes him to take more damage, which accelerates the clear because he's Olaf.
Olaf, one of the few champions who's very happy to be at low health in the jungle, but still, paradoxically, clears at very high health, if you choose to do it that way.
Just one of those champs that synergizes very well with exactly what his job is supposed to be. And speaking of that synergy, remember, eyes on Xayah and Rakan down here as well. How potent this duo has been when they get drafted on the same side. Zeyzal going in, trying to find the opportunity there at level 1. Can't quite get it. Now they hit level 2, but Grand Entrance not quite ready to go again that fast.
C9 Academy's bot lane, like we showed in that highlight earlier, was playing the same bot lane yesterday. So they are pretty warmed up on it, I would assume. This is not a surprise to see them with these 2 champions. And Wiggly has tons of options available. All 3 lanes can potentially set up a gank for him. Olaf, not the best at starting things off himself, kind of just has to charge at you, but he does have the Predator boots. One of those things that is enabling Olaf to come back a little bit stronger into the meta now that people have started running that rune choice a little bit more.
But of course, you cannot activate it until you go shop 1 time. That is something that you got to keep in mind with these Predator jungles. You got to make at least 1 trip back to base to even get the boots so you can activate it. So Wiggly won't have that extra gank power until he goes to shop. If he goes for an immediate play here, which he may look at topside, Kadir hanging around the bottom side of the jungle with his mid laner there, seeing maybe if there's an opportunity to make something happen, but he'll just return to that Raptor pit instead as Wiggly decides to keep on farming up with the Scuttle Crabs. That'll top him off in terms of health as well.
That's one of the things, too, when you're playing against an aggressive early jungler who you don't really want to bump into, with 3 lanes that can get ganked, it actually makes playing your side of the jungle very difficult because you don't know where you need to be.
High Cake Lord might be in some trouble here. Axe comes over the wall. Undertow finding a little bit of damage there. Wiggly walks up to just make sure he tags him with a bit extra, while bottom side is going to be a full-on 2 versus 2 Winter, and Andy responding well to the aggro from the Xayah and the Rakan. Keeping this one shoved up, utilizing that Caitlyn range. Not afraid to get scrappy.
Nope, especially once that jungler shows on the top side, you're willing to go for that trade. And they don't really come out too far ahead with it. You see Caitlyn able to get that pressure early on.
Now Kadir topside. I mean, this isn't really a gank so much as it's a help me shove this in so I can get myself back on a good timer. Zeyzal goes in, able to find the knock up there onto Winter, looking for a little bit more damage. The Ignite coming down onto Zeyzal as the root finds its way towards Winter. Keith and Zeyzal bagging themselves away now. Andy, the highest health of the entire group. Likely the one who's going to be deciding how things go here. Nice headshot onto Keith.
And that's, once again, a result of the jungler showing up in the top lane. They feel completely comfortable to charge forward and engage onto them. Get a good chunk out, get a small summoner advantage.
But now, Wiggly in the mid lane. Predator used. There comes your gravity field. Palafox forced to flash to get himself away from that one. Wiggly will take a little bit of damage, but popping that summoner spell is pretty big.
That means the repeat gank will be pretty easy. He does still have the cleanse. Should Golden Glue try and start things off with a flash taunt. But after that, you're still potentially going to get Justice Pump, axed, undertowed all the way down the lane.
Yeah, definitely problematic there if Palafox isn't careful. So you're going to be seeing some very safe behavior from him most likely for the next 5 minutes. Really not wanting to put himself in a compromisable position. TP coming back into the bottom lane from Zeyzal with the Summoner's Spellbook. One of those things that Runes Reforged has brought to us. You never really would see that in the past as he makes the grand entrance onto Andy, looking to start off the 2 versus 2, but the entrance there from Kadir going to be shutting that one down real fast.
And that's why the Xayah Rakan lane has that little bit of extra strength than you might not realize. That was actually a not very safe W to take if you're not with Xayah, but the extra range to get back to his AD carry means that the Sejuani couldn't punish it really.
Blue wants Palafox here. Get some good damage with the Winds of War. Zeyzal going in yet again. Winter may be in some trouble here. Clean cuts coming out. Winter taken very low. Heal comes out to make sure he stays alive. Andy returning some fire there onto Keith. But this Cloud9 Academy bot lane, Mark, every single chance they get, they're always looking to make this happen.
And the way they played this was actually very interesting to me. There was a... No, hold on here. Nope, just a little annoyance. There was a really interesting trade earlier on into the game where they could have thrown their Ignite down from Zeyzal onto Winter when he dropped his Ignite and maybe could have looked for a kill. But they went for the safer play of backing off and not wasting that cooldown so the Summoner Spellbook Rakan could take the teleport and come back into the lane with an HP advantage and guarantee that they have pressure for the remaining portion of this laning phase. A very surprising decision, but one that I actually like a lot considering you're trying to set up bot dives. And now you feel how much pressure the bot lane is. They're not going to be able to walk up and CS for a little while.
And right there you're seeing some of that difficulty that you were talking about that Sion would probably have dealing with Riven. He tries to charge up the Decimate, but instead he gets interrupted, comboed on, and returning the damage can become difficult when Riven blocks it with a shield of her own. Kadir will start up the blue, but he is being tracked. The fact that Cloud9 are aware of exactly where he is means Shiro can make a rotation down towards this, try to stop him. Goes for the flash, but can't quite find the play he was looking for. Still trying to flex onto this blue buff here. He won't steal it, but he forces Kadir to take it and keeps it off of Palafox.
And the other thing, too, is he was drawing a lot of attention. The fact that that was warded means that C9 Academy can set up a potential dive down the bot side. OpTic is doing a great job respecting it, but it's coming at the cost of their turret's ADP.
Now the Golden Glue has made his entrance into the mix. And he has to get himself back. It's a 4-man push from Cloud9 Academy. TP going to be used here to help OpTic hold the line. They don't want to give away that objective right here at the start. Sion ulti goes off. Unstoppable into the mix. Only finds his way onto Golden Glue. Zeyzal with the counterattack, but the Unstoppable is now going to be used by the Olaf here, getting right back into the lines of OpTic Gaming. The stun comes through. It lands its way onto Golden Glue. Now going to be taunted up, running away. Kadir on the chase. The Chaos Storm has landed. Everyone disengages. It's a 5-man effort from OpTic Gaming, but it results in nothing.
No kills, just trades of summoners, and Shiro holds onto his TP up in the top side, pushing waves in there, getting damage done on the turret. I was a little surprised to see C9 Academy actually go for the re-engage there, and it looked like it could have actually worked out, but Golden Glue didn't quite shoot his Winds of War far enough to get the damage down onto Sion. He ends up walking away just fine. It is Aftershock, and MarkZ rush Galio, so probably not going to maybe have the damage to finish off the Sion, but no. Either way, a very dicey situation for C9 when they had already kind of won that situation, getting that TP out for free and being able to back off.
That was honestly quite a fight to have nobody drop at the end of it. A lot of ultimates expended, a lot of summoner spells used. There comes your root down onto Winter, but as that Braum, he's not too super concerned about being under any real threat of dying. Flash is still up on both the Cloud9 Academy bottom laners. Winter had used his own, and he's got his ready to go. Golden Glue, of course, utilizing that Galio ultimate in that last fight means that you won't have that available for the extra rotational ability that provides, at least for a little while longer here.
Nope, and this is a situation where, yes, they lost some CS in the top lane as a result of this TP in that came down, and they have, after they commit the TP, they of course want to take this fight. A good knockup by Zeyzal makes it look like they could have finished High Cake Lord out there. Maybe you could have seen Wiggly stay on him a little bit longer, get some more auto attacks in. Either way, though, they do play this one a little safer, and that's very understandable, given that it is a 5v4. And even though OpTic doesn't get anything out of this, if C9 doesn't punish somehow with the TP advantage that they have in the top lane, that's actually not that bad because it does go a long way towards stabilizing that bot lane a little bit. And there is an acceptable level of gold that you're willing to fall behind in the laning phase on the side of OpTic.
Oh, but there comes your flash, your initiation, and he's going to be forced away, and the first blood comes through every time on this guy, Mark.
Oh,
Zeyzal just goes in.
That was a perfect engage. The enemy support is out of position a little bit, going roaming, and the Caitlyn is just not quite far enough back. And people talk about this is why Rakan is so powerful as a support. The flash alt W, always catching people out of position. I was talking about an acceptable level of gold to fall behind in the laning phase.
Right.
We're past that. You know, you're moving up to about 3,000 gold at this point. You've lost the first turret of the game. You lost the dragon. The rotations are going to start happening around the map. If they could have held on to their turrets, sat at around 2,000 gold until 15, 20 minutes, maybe it's okay, but this is starting to become a disaster.
This makes things very difficult because you said earlier the composition from Cloud9, the ability that they have to make plays and utilize this composition they've drafted for themselves is very strong, but if you hit 3 items for OpTic, that's when you're going to be looking nastier, and let's see how this happens.
Oh yeah, as soon as he starts channeling that Q, he has no way to get out of that. Just a great timing window that Zeyzal recognized there that once the Piltover Peacemaker comes down, you can't get out of it, so guaranteed to get that CC.
OpTic will grab themselves the Rift Herald now, though, so not going to just take losing that turret, losing the kill, losing the Drake lying down. They will find something for themselves here on the map. Grabbing Shelly means they might be able to translate that into a turret here in a little bit, but considering they're down 3,000 at 11 minutes, considering they don't have the early game advantage, I think it's more about staunching the bleeding than anything.
Yeah, it's an objective that now they can't take. And maybe if you find a good timing window, you can drop it and get a turret for yourself, start evening some of this gold out. But at the very least, it will slow down the snowball that C9 has started enacting.
Shiro getting pretty aggressive down here in the bottom lane. Not really afraid of Pie Cake Lord at all. Just kind of jumps in, clears all the minions away, says you can hit me if you want. Not too concerned about it. As Cloud9 Academy with their bottom lane now rotated up to the top lane. They've got Wiggly here too, going for the invade. If they catch Kadir out, he could be in a lot of trouble. He does get himself away in time, but a ward is placed down. And I like this from Cloud9 Academy, getting those deeper wards, making sure they can keep an eye on the OpTic rotation.
And it's really nice that they've been controlling the blue buff a little bit. You mentioned how the second blue buff went over to Kadir. Makes it harder for Palafox to wave clear and then follow the Galio, something that, you know, he's going to struggle with even with the blue buff, but just making his life that much more difficult.
And I mean, that's something that I always like to watch when you see a team invading like this, going for the blue buff, even if Kadir smites it away. Even if you don't end up taking the 100 gold, but now the initiation comes in. The Galio is going to be piling in right on top of that Rakan, the Braum, the target now. Gravity Field going to protect him a little bit longer as Andy seeks to find some damage on the back end of the fight. Wiggly just barely going to avoid being stunned up by that Sejuani ultimate. Cloud9 Academy gets themselves away.
It's another power play that, for the most part, OpTic has been able to withstand. Like you said, you are fighting over a blue buff, but no deaths while getting out the Galio ultimate and a couple other tools means that's good. But now Shiro has pressure down the bot side.
Shiro going into the mid lane. It's Palafox who gets himself jumped on as Golden Glue gets the kill for that Galio. Top side, it's Zeyzal going in yet again as if there was any other way to do it, but now he's going to be in some trouble, stunned up underneath the turret, taken down first. Keith able to make it a 1-for-1, grabbing the kill onto the Braum as well, as Golden Glue gets punished, sticking around too long in the enemy jungle. Kadir going to stun him up into yet another stun coming in from the Scion, and Pie Cake Lord kills him with the explosion before he can flash over the wall.
Fights all over the map.
And here's another one. Andy tries to get himself back over the wall, but the flash from Wiggly is there and takes him down.
So Wiggly able to punish Andy once again for stepping forward when he probably shouldn't have. And once again, it results in a turret, this time in the top lane. But OpTic was able to punish the dive that happened in the mid lane. They did get a counter kill. Drop Shelly in the mid lane, get some damage down, but Shiro is here to cover. So 2 for 3 across the map, all around, I believe.
It's a bloody one.
Starting with this mid lane dive, just not much a sad Victor can do about that. During that time, both junglers are showing in the mid lane, so of course both bot lanes feel kind of confident fighting. Ends up having Winter block more damage than he wanted to. Keith took some damage, and then during that, Shiro hopped the wall and kind of left Golden Glue all on his own. He doesn't quite have the mobility of Riven. His E does not get him over walls. He did have flash up, but wanted to get close enough to the wall to flash and then goes down for it. This axe misses, but you just see how Andy shouldn't have been up there at all. Just runs up and smites him.
Yep, even if you miss the axe, Tracker's knife is gone. We've got champion smiting back in the professional scene now, Mark.
We aggro now.
We aggro now, boys. That's exactly how you want to play it for your Olaf. Even if you miss the first axe, it's okay. That one's just about sending a message. The second axe, that's the one that
you were lining it up. You know, the first
you dial it in.
The first dart is a bit of a, you know, you're figuring out your range, where to go.
Yeah, but how does a dartboard feel? How are you feeling right now? Just kind of getting...
I'm aiming a little left. Let me compensate.
Yeah.
You know?
Where's my wrist at tonight? That's exactly what Olaf was doing there. Just dialing those axes in. He finds the kill for himself. And now it's once again Cloud9 Academy pulling the trigger. OpTic in some trouble as the dunk comes down, and it's going to be 2 dead on this one. Wiggly grabbing the kill onto Kadir, taking this game into a 6-2 lead for Cloud9 Academy, who just will not stop making these plays.
Yep, 6,000 gold up, 15 minutes in. That is a pretty substantial lead, and here they go, going on to Palafox.
I like that play from Golden Glue, flashing back towards the enemy mid laner, making sure they're able to set up that kill, recognizing Shiro's damage potential, and getting themselves yet another kill, this time off of the play that was opted into by OpTic Gaming.
Yeah, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Shame also on
twice the shame on me.
Andy this time learning his lesson, not walking forward to defend a turret and getting killed. Just watches it go down. And I gotta say, when we saw this draft happening, Captain Flowers, we were talking about how this is quite the comp C9 is putting together.
It was pretty impressive.
And it's no surprise to me to see this gold lead at this point. You just see how much engage potential they have. The flash Rakan ult followed up by the Galio with an unstoppable Olaf running forward while having decent lane matchups.
It doesn't feel like there's a lot you can do.
Yeah, there's a lot you should have done 15 minutes ago in the draft. All right.
Well, like you said, they've got a win condition if things end up coming around for, 3, 4 items, something like that. But when the gold lead is where it's at, when plays get made onto your mid laner like that, when you're, what is that, 8,000 gold behind, 7,500 gold behind, those win conditions start to look further and further away.
Scale for late.
Scale for late. We got late.
We
scale.
Late. Scale.
We scale. Put it in all chat.
Hey, they still got their mid lane turret. All right, OpTic's fine. As long as you got that, it's hard to Baron. Just hold on to your mid lane turret.
Just hunker down and take that defensive stance if Cloud9 Academy will let them. But as we've seen so far, turrets or anything else isn't really stopping Cloud9 Academy at this point. Zeyzal, the man that I've been watching this entire game, we kind of talked about the hype that had built up around him at the start of the split and how that's quieted down recently, but seeing him back on these playmakers reminds us why that hype was built in the first place. And this guy is one of those people that sparks the conversation of, why aren't we seeing this guy in LCS if he's constantly doing such a good job in these academy things? And he becomes one of those names that you may expect to see get some bigger stage time in the future.
Yeah, we absolutely don't know what was happening as the trade deadline has passed this week, I believe. So the fact that he's still down here means no one picked him up, and who knows what that is. Maybe he actually just wants to play on C9 Academy, but he, at least to me, has demonstrated that he deserves a shot now in the LCS.
Keith, nice dodge away there. Kadir's ulti going to be juked out by the Xayah, but Sion's coming in, and Golden Glue steps in the way to make sure the Xayah is not going to be in trouble yet again. Kadir having to flash out from this one. Wiggly looking to chase him down. A little bit more damage will do it. He finds that kill for himself, likely going to be in some trouble. The reinitiation from Zeyzal underneath the tier 1 mid lane turret. Shiro barely getting himself out of that one as OpTic Gaming has to retreat. They just don't have the manpower. Even Kadir got away. That first turret goes down, and there's your last bastion of hope, Mark, not standing so tall.
No, it was a good try by OpTic. They almost caught Keith out, but the quick fingers meant that he was able to live. And then at that point, the Scion had started his charge, was coming flying down mid lane, and it forced that fight. OpTic played it decently well, almost traded Wiggly back, but the last second Galio ult keeping him alive.
Cloud9 has just won every single fight they put themselves in. It seems like they can do no wrong so far this game. It's brought them up to an incredible lead, 9,500 gold, 18 minutes into the game. Typically a situation that it's nigh impossible to recover from unless you make a grave error yourself. Your opponents are really behind the 8 ball.
And we always talk about how closely the Academy League mirrors the LCS. We've seen the main roster of C9 lose the 10K gold lead at 25 minutes.
We have.
I hope they don't follow them here. It's a little risky as they took a very aggressive path. Good reactions by Keith are the only reason he's still alive. And then that Scion ult is coming flying up the mid lane. Golden Glue does a good job body blocking, making sure they can't actually get onto Keith. Zazel drops his ult. It's kind of running around there, also providing zoning. And then the re-engage combination with him and Shiro both flashing onto the front line, or excuse me, back line, was why they were able to get that second kill. And they're also able to protect Wiggly.
Yeah, Secret Service Agent Golden Glue making sure he protects the package, gets him out of there safe and sound.
Take the bullet for him.
Yeah, ushers him out through the back. Come this way, come this way. We got to get you out of here. But he does so successfully. 3-0-1 on the Olaf from Wiggly. 4 kill participations, so doing pretty well there for himself. And even if he hasn't been a part of 5 out of 9 of the kills, he's been setting up a lot of these plays for the team by being so forward and playing so aggressively in the enemy jungle, setting the rest of the team up for where they need to be. And now, Cloud9 Academy deciding they can just go for the 3-man Baron attempt here right as it spawns. No knowledge of this for OpTic Academy. Kadir going to be walking up towards that. Will run into Shiro there in the jungle. Cloud9 Academy calling things off. We're going to make the play here instead. Galio Ultimate going to be coming in, finds its way on to 2. Golden Glue will look to cut these guys off. Keith goes on a rampage, finding the kill onto Palafox to start things off. Yet another 3-man knockup from Zazel. Shiro into the back line, cutting them all to pieces with Andy dead too. That is 4 members down. And there's nothing OpTic Academy can do about it. Cloud9 now 5 men strong, right back into the Baron pit.
Unplug your controller, dog. It's over. Oh, God. C9 taking them to task. Grabbing the Baron 20 minutes in. The turnoff, wasn't sure if it was going to be the right call. Still basically find the ace. Scion able to live because he's just that giant meatball, but his entire team is dead. Over a 10K gold lead now, 20 minutes in with a Baron buff.
You got a meatball. You don't have any spaghetti to back it up.
It's a dry meatball.
That's the worst kind of situation you can find yourself in. Let's take another look at how they found themselves there.
And once again, who is it? It's Zazel kicking things off. The Galio ult comes in over the top. The 3-man knockup. Kalen's able to get out of range. He wants to walk back forward to start DPSing again, but that just gives them their second chance to go in. Shiro was hanging off on the left side. They're looking for the right opportunity. Once again, Shiro and Zazel showing great synergy together, both of them finding the backline members, finding those kills, and making sure that they really do win that fight.
And let's go back to what we were talking about before this game started. About, well, never mind. Shiro wants to make a quick interruption there. Find the moves onto Palafox. Protection coming in from Winter will buy enough time, and Shiro may have bit off a bit more than he can chew here. Does he have the moves to get out? I don't believe so. Fires off the ulti, but it's only a matter of time. Palafox cashes in on that kill, but the rest of Cloud9 Academy are saying 3-men bottom lane. That just means we get to knock on the door to top lane, knock that one over, move on to the inhibitor itself. They've got their bottom lane, they've got their jungler. This is the 3-man squad that's been setting everything up so far, and Golden Glue's looking to make his entrance here as well. Keith grabbing the kill onto Andy to start it all off as they continue to run down the remaining members of OpTic Gaming, and it is just going to be a slaughter.
Looks like that could be game. They take the top inhibitor. They still have a wave. 4 men strong. Shiro's going to be up in 15 seconds. Also has teleport to join in, so if they can protect the wave, they can probably do this.
Palafox taken down. Shiro avenged. We talked about the parity in the middle of the group, but Cloud9 Academy is one of the teams that stands out towards the top, and this is why they can do so. They completely shut their opponents down this game. They drafted an incredible comp, they played it incredibly well, and they locked this one down before 23 minutes.
Yeah, and that was a shellacking. We saw it coming in the draft a little bit. Xayah Rakan on red side, something you don't generally see. You throw in a Galio on top of it, and Olaf. that is a dive comp where if something starts going wrong, you don't have any tools that can stop it.
I mean, the one thing we looked at in the draft that we thought was a question mark maybe is the Riven, but then Riven just doesn't care about Sion. She matches up well into that. That's the only thing you might be worried about is, oh, they got Sion, but now we don't care.
Right. I mean, Sion's a champion that can be pretty annoying, poke some people out of lane, but largely doesn't dominate the laning phase. So it was almost an afterthought, the top side of the map. Like we said, so much of it was trading around the bot lane. We saw a gank go up there early on, but as soon as the jungler started showing top side, that just enabled Keith and Zeyzal to go aggressive over and over.
And we saw so many plays get made by Cloud9 Academy throughout this game. 15 minutes in, a 3-for-0 in the blue side jungle, plus mid lane combined over a couple fights.
And this is after they've already taken 2 turrets. They've already pulled off a couple of dives. And you see why this comp is so dangerous. I mean, your flashes are down, but their ult and dive tools are still available. So very easy kills in the jungle. That's 2 people down. And then they want to try and punish that aggression, cut Golden Glue off as he catches back to the mid lane. But Shiro is already there as well. Like you said, great flash back on top of Palafox to set that kill up for the Riven. And once Riven starts getting kills, she becomes a bit of a menace as well.
Yeah, Shiro was there. Golden Glue had some great situational awareness, recognizing exactly what he needed to do in that situation. And when you're that far ahead of 15 minutes, 20 minutes sounds like a good Baron call and an even better call to turn and find yourself a 4-for-0.
And this was just one of those plays where they're so far ahead, they can kind of do whatever they want. They start off a 3-man Baron. The enemy team knows that it's being a bait, and they still say, whatever, we'll turn off the Baron and catch you out of position. They take this fight, kicked off again by 2 great engages by Zeyzal. His W's were on point all game long. Did have a ton of tools to follow up with him, of course, but that just speaks to how good the comp was and how well they executed it.
And there's so many times that we see a game of League of Legends and we say, oh yeah, they played this great even if the draft was kind of wonky, or, well, they didn't play this great, but man, the draft was so good. This was a game where they just played it so clean and the draft was so clean that you really can't find much to fault.
Right, absolutely. I mean, you get a 10K gold lead at 18 minutes. Like, there's a lot of things going right. You can't point to just one thing.
Right. And to hear more about that victory, I'd like to go ahead and welcome Wiggly to the broadcast, joining us via Skype. Wiggly, it's good to have you on here with us. Congratulations on the win.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pretty fun one.
It looked like a fun one.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about the draft phase, because that was something that as it was kind of ending, I liked how you guys split up the Xayah Rakan. Instead of just kind of picking them together, you took the Galio and said, I dare you to take the Rakan. Is this something that you feel like can potentially swing things back in Red Side's favor, or should they have just first picked Xayah or Rakan?
We were expecting them to either pick Galio or Xayah first pick. So when they picked Sejuani, we kind of knew that we just won draft straight up because we can always get Galio, Rakan, and Galio together, which is pretty hard to play against, especially if you fall behind at all. So we were pretty confident going into the game.
So talk to me now specifically. You saw that they locked in the Sejuani first and foremost. Your response to that ends up being the Olaf. How do you feel about this pick right now in the jungle? How do you like playing this?
I mean, with Rakan and Galio, Olaf is pretty much like the perfect fit. So I don't know why they didn't ban it at all. They banned out Zac and Kha'Zix, which also are good. But when they left Olaf open, I knew it was just the best pick because we had Galio, Rakan, and there's actually no counterplay. So as soon as we got a small lead, the game was pretty much over.
So yeah, not watching enough.
Knew going into the game.
Not watching enough LCK.
Yeah, the LCK, the Peanut performance, we kind of got to see a little bit of a reprisal of that. You were constantly in the enemy jungle. You guys were always pressuring up. It was you and Zeyzal that were just getting into the enemy jungle, laying down the wards. You had the plan down there. Talk to me about what the comms for this team are like, because it looked so well coordinated.
The comms this game were pretty much just like, well, we have our ults and they're walking into us, so we can just go on them whenever they walk into the jungle. We were just getting full vision control, and I think there was a couple of times where they stepped up too far, and with Rakan Galio, they're, like I said, there's pretty much no counterplay if you step up too far, so we just ran at them and killed them.
So kind of final question for you. With regards to the playoffs coming up, obviously you guys are now in there. How important is the #1 seed to avoid potentially Team Liquid and FlyQuest? And then who do you think will end up getting that 4th seed?
I don't know how important the 1st seed is for us. I think that going against anyone, we're not really too worried. Like, I don't think any of the teams that are in playoffs should be too hard for us to beat if we bring our own game, you know? Like, today, I don't really have an issue playing FlyQuest, TL, or whoever the 4th place team is, so I'm not too worried about it. And I'm assuming Echo Fox will get the 4th spot. I think they're 4th right now, but I'm not sure.
Well,
I think TSM might be able to, but yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys are confident in your own ability, and after watching that game, I don't know how you couldn't be. It was an incredible show to see. Best of luck for you guys going forward into the last week of regular play and the playoffs beyond. And that's all we've got for you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep, thank you for having me.
All right, we are headed for a break, but when we come back, the Academy League resumes with FlyQuest versus CLG Academy. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.